Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts, sports journalist David Todd, and from SteelersDepot.com, Dave Bryan. Just a couple of Daves, chillin', talking Steelers. Now, here's Dave and Dave.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave. He's Dave Bryan of SteelersDepot.com, the place to get your latest and greatest Steelers information. And I'm David Todd. It's Season 9, Episode 10. And Dave, the Steelers took a drubbing in Lambeau yesterday, 51-34. Certainly a lot more negative than positive in this one, but there were a couple bright spots that we saw. And why don't we just hit on the two right out of the chute? James Conner and your pick of the week, I think, was James Washington. Both those guys looked good for the Steelers.
Yeah, they did, and there was a lot of negative, of course, associated. We'll go through, most of this. I've been through the game, other than the original watch, 2 more times since then. But first of all, shout out to we got a lot of feedback, didn't we?
We did. I'm going to go through some of the women, the emails from the women who listened to the show. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we'll hit, David, we're trying to remember to hit those, because I want to do that as well too. We got some really good feedback there, so I just want to make sure we thank people at the top of the show for that. James Conner. Boy, he hits a hole nicely, doesn't he? That looked more like the James Conner that we saw on several runs his final year at Pitt, right?
Yeah, Dave, we noticed this last year. I mean, he is a very different runner. I mean, you could argue that everybody's a different runner than Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell's a unique cat. But getting to see both guys side by side, and as a Steeler fan, you see it all the time, so you get used to that. And James Conner has some burst, and he's a tough dude.
When you see him get, a full, the full load there at the beginning of the game and quite a few runs right in a row there, you're right. You really see the difference in running styles between him and Le'Veon Bell. He really gets in that hole quickly, in that line. I mean, there were 2 of those up the middle, not only the line, David, but the tight ends and the wide receivers as well, doing their job and giving him some nice creases there, and then him doing the rest, him getting that one big run up and that went up to the right side there that included the face mask, and then of course the touchdown run.
It was next carry, next play, wasn't it?
It was either the next one or the one after that. But how many times do we see 20-yard Steeler touchdown runs?
Not often.
Not often is correct. So some good stuff there. The James Washington, obviously, most of it being in the second half, most of it being with Joshua Dobbs. You see why I defended this guy during the week,
I don't think there's anything to defend. He's a second-round pick, and a guy the Steelers expect to be, out there.
This is a guy that what we saw last night, there shouldn't be a lot of stories written about it, because that's what he does.
He had 2 balls in the first half that he got his hands on that he didn't catch. I don't want to say it was perfect, but yeah, he made good plays.
No. In fact, he wasn't. The one, was it from Rudolph?
He got 2 balls on his hands on, right?
Right. One he didn't get his head around quick enough. Was that from Rudolph in the first half, or what?
There was one across from the left side going across. They were both high balls. They were not well thrown balls. One was up high. It would have been a really tough catch, and the guy was on his back. And then the second one, he was on the right side. And Rudolph threw it to him, and again he floated it up high. And there was a guy behind him who kind of got in there at the same time he did, because I think Rudolph was a little late getting the ball there. It was like, Rudolph had a lot of time and then eventually came to him.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that one, or if I think you might be confusing one to Tucker there when he avoided pressure and then had him.
Maybe.
over on the right side there. But yeah, I mean, obviously not perfect, but I mean, when it comes to the contested catches, he make no mistake, he bailed Joshua Dobbs out on a couple of those. So
he certainly looks like he's the third best receiver on the team. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that.
If not, he's right there, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, who knows if he's starting week one, but he'll get snaps. And Dave, if we were going to guess, right, you'd guess that he gets 750 snaps, 750, 800 snaps this year if he's healthy, right? He gets 50 snaps a game.
Yeah, whatever 40 times 16 is.
Yeah, that's 640. So yeah, I was even a tad higher than that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this, one of the things too that I've talked about a lot about James Washington since he was drafted is want to see him do some stuff from the left side, and he's showing that he can do that. The big pass play to 50-something yards down the field came from the left side on a pass from Joshua Dobbs there. So a lot of good stuff from those two guys, Connor and Washington. And, as far as complete positives go, that might be close to about it.
Yeah, that's pretty damn close to the entire list. So
I will tell you this. That Fitzgerald Toussaint, that son of a gun can pass protect, man. I mean, that guy gets the recognition. He steps up, eats the grass. You can hear him pop people in there, and he still doesn't look too bad with the football in his hands either. So, look, I don't know if he's going to make the cut or not, but he's going to be a tough one, and I think he can still play in the league. He is still the second best pass protector on the team behind Le'Veon Bell.
He's the definition of a football player. I mean, Rosie Nix, you got guys. This is a guy who he's not the most talented guy out there, but he's talented enough. I mean, look, you go back to the playoff games when Bell was out a few years ago. Fitz ran really well, and unfortunately, he'll always be remembered for fumbling in the Denver game. Unfortunate mark on the resume. But when a hole's there, he'll hit it. I mean, look, is he? He's not going to be a feature back in this league ever. But if you need him for a series or two, he's fine. And he can play special teams. As you say, Dave, he's not afraid of contact on special teams or in pass protection. That's why I made the comment the other day. I don't know if Stephen Ridley not playing was just the same reason Landry Jones didn't play. And you just say, look, we've seen enough of Stephen Ridley. He's a veteran. He's going to make the team. I don't know that it's quite like that. That's a possibility. Or they just said, look, we want to get these other guys some burn. Stephen Ridley's been in the league, and we know who he is. And we're going to give the other guys the opportunity. They know who Fitz is now. And so, we saw a little bit of, we saw some of the Samuels and some other stuff. But I still think, as we said, going into this game, to me, Jalen Samuels is the fifth running back, the fifth halfback on this football team.
And Jalen Samuels did some nice thing. I want to go back through and see if I can find some good recognition and pass protection with him in this game. I just know that it really stuck out when Fitz did it in this game. So I just want to make sure we gave him a shout out there. All right, the quarterbacks, Mason Rudolph, bless his heart. Hey, I got my wish, right? He got.
Yeah, you got him started. He started.
He got the start, but it's like he's going into huddle with that script of those first plays. He said, all right, just get through this first play. Get that ball out there to that left side no matter what you see. And welcome to the NFL. These guys are a little bit smarter on the other side of football. When they see you drop and settle real quick, they're going to be breaking on the football and pick six on the first pass attempt, and voila.
Tremont Williams had to be begging, first play, first start, have the rookie throwing out a nice easy out on his first play because I'm going to sit on it. No jam on the line of scrimmage. Sit there, watch his eyes, stares right at him. I mean, that's a veteran corner. He's 35 years old. He's been around forever. He's got 30 plus interceptions in his career. stuff happens. It's a rookie. You learn. I won't belabor this point, but in the summer, I took some heat for defending Landry Jones as being the Steelers' backup, and a lot of people were arguing. Look, talent is a great thing, but talent without some experience is less good. And you even saw it just in last night's performance. I mean, Josh Dobbs was the better quarterback of the two. I have no doubt that Mason Rudolph is the more talented of the two guys, but Josh Dobbs has had 12 and a half months of actually 15 months and 12 months more than Mason Rudolph of being in the system and had an opportunity to play in some of these games. And, he's still making mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But it was there's no question. It was a tough night for Mason Rudolph. He just didn't play well, period. There's I'm not bashing the kid. In the big picture, this makes no difference in his long-term potential, but he did not play well last night.
You would like to have seen him come out of that game against the Eagles, continuing on either an on-par performance like that, or obviously a little bit better performance. And it was the other direction. Now, I liked his demeanor and the way he responded after the pick six. They always kind of you always look at these young quarterbacks and you say, how do they respond after a sack, and how do they respond after a turnover that's on them? And I thought he did that.
He kept playing. I mean,
well, I thought he kept driving. It didn't look like he was frazzled by it. No.
I think he's shown, as much as we can tell, some presence and command of the huddle.
Right. Now obviously the delay a game right after, on that next series, you don't like to see that kind of stuff happen there. I thought he missed a couple of throws. The one to Patterson maybe could have been give Patterson a chance. I think that was down the right side on a deep throw.
Yeah, on third down, he hit him. He threw it over him. Yeah, on a long square out.
Yeah, it was good coverage and all. I mean, it would have been a tough one anyway, but I think you just got to give your guy a little bit better chance there. I'll have to look and see how Patterson did getting off the line and all. And then kind of on that other one, when he avoided the pressure that I think that you were confusing with Washington, the one with Tucker got a little bit of separation and Rudolph threw a little bit high to him. Now, obviously, you don't want to knock a guy on a touchdown pass, but boy, he sure did stare Juju down.
Yeah, he got it in a tight window, maybe a half step behind to where he should have thrown it, but he got it in there. I thought that was one of his better throws of the night. I'll tell you what I thought his worst throw of the night was. I mean, obviously the pick six, it wasn't a bad throw. It was bad execution. The worst throw of the night was on a third down when he threw behind Jesse James in the middle of the field. After, one of the things, and you mentioned this last week, and I'll mention it this week. I went through the game a couple times myself, particularly the first half, looking at Rudolph's throws, and he held the football forever. And one thing you can't tell from this was it great coverage, or did he just hold the football too long? I mean, he got sacked 3 times, he was pressured a couple other times, but that throw to Jesse James down the middle behind him after he held the ball for 5 or 6 seconds, that was a really bad decision. And, it was a tough night. Learn from the experience, but he had a rough night.
Trying to think, 1 for 4. He was down the field on deep passes. Yeah, I mean, just a rough night. We'll dissect it. We'll put up stills we'll put up the passing charts on him and contextualize everything with him, just like we did last week, and go from there. Joshua Dobbs coming into the game.
Let me ask you a question. Did Joshua Dobbs make the Steelers' decision any different last night? Or is this just absolutely set in stone, and the only thing that is whether he's getting to the practice squad?
I mean, look, David, if this was a nice performance by Dobbs, it was the best of his career, right? We're not talking, how long a career is that? It's one game, and it was in the second half against,
second stringers.
Right, so, it was great to see him. The thing we talked about with him going into this game was this game with Dobbs is him pushing the football down the field more, right? And he did that. He did that a lot more, and he was successful with it as far as completing passes. Now, did he get away with a few of them? Did James Washington bail him out on a couple? Yeah, but I mean, that's going to happen in a game, right? I mean, at times with almost any quarterback. I mean, you have good players out there that help you make plays at times. But he did push the football down the field more. What did I have on his deep passing stats here? Do you remember? Let's see. Rudolph was 1 of 4 on deep passes for 19 yards, and Dobbs was 5. He had 9 attempts, David, of deep passes, meaning they were thrown in the air more than 15 yards past the line of scrimmage, and he was 5 of 9 on those throws for 144 yards, and the 2 touchdowns on that. So that's something we were wanting to see him do more of, and he did, and he was successful at it. Now, he did, keep in mind that quite a few of his other throws were dump-offs to the running backs and all, but without a doubt, he was the better quarterback of the 2 last night.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was good. It was good to see him throw the ball down the field. And look, if nothing else for Josh Dobbs' career, he put some tape up there that I have no doubt that Josh Dobbs will be on somebody's practice squad this year, if not on a roster. So that's maybe what he secured, getting a paycheck. He might have secured that last night. And I think the Steelers would love to have him as their on their practice squad. It would be the all-time kind of taxi squad, sit there and maybe not even get many reps in practice during the season because you figure Mason Rudolph's going to run the scout team. But always better to get a paycheck and be in the league than sitting on the sideline. So it was a good night for him.
Right. But I mean, here we are still. People are, the overreact. Was that his best? Was that Dobbs' best game to date?
Yeah, I mean, I'm having trouble remembering. I don't catalog the preseason games year to year and keep them in my head, so I don't know. I'll take your word for it. I don't remember anything outstanding last year.
Right. I mean, the game against the Giants to start the season was bad, as was the one against the Falcons. He obviously, the finale against the Panthers, he really didn't come on until late. Remember the drive that had Tucker in it and all like that. So really, he did have the nice deep throw to Justin Hunter down the right side, I think for a touchdown late last preseason there. And then fast forward to this preseason, he's got 2 games underneath his belt, and he was one of 2 on deep balls last week with the touchdown and the interception. We talked about that, and then this week, I mean, it's easily his best performance. And here we are right now talking about, are the Steelers going to keep him as a 4th quarterback?
Yeah, no, they're not. They're not going to keep him on the 53 as a 4th quarterback. I think there's zero chance of that.
So where's the discussion on this? I mean, are people still going to try to say that one of these 2 guys need to be the number 2 and to trade Landry Jones and
No. Anybody who says that is smoking Elon Musk's 420. If you read the news today, no, there's no chance. They're not trading Landry Jones. It was never on the table, and it's not on the table now.
So, I mean, are you going to try to trade, Joshua Dobbs for a 7th? I mean, how many?
That's I don't think anybody will give it to you because they know you got to waive him. But I mean, I guess that's at least in the realm of possibility. Yes. I mean, I would put it at 3% chance of it actually happening because I don't think you get something for him. But that you might as well make some phone calls, particularly if he plays well next week.
Right, and he might not get much time next week. It might be the 4th one that he gets the time in.
You're right. So Ben takes a couple series. Maybe Landry finishes the first half and Mason gets the second half. I don't know. Maybe Landry doesn't play. Maybe Landry doesn't play, and it's Ben gets a couple series and Mason takes the rest of the half in the third quarter, and Dobbs gets the 4th quarter.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out there. Well, I guess what I'm getting at here is, and we all tend to love our own more than the others, right? So we're not even seeing what's going on with the other quote unquote 3rd and number 3
50 guys around the league. Yeah.
Right. The number 3 and number 4 battles going around the league. So I mean, we're automatically assuming that, oh, Dobbs had that good game and a decent game against the Eagles. He's automatically, we ought to be able to get a 7th-round draft pick for him,
Yeah, right. It's the whole, at the end of the cut, it's the cut down conversation where everybody thinks the Steelers cut. And, look, the Steelers are one of the better teams, so you assume the guys they cut are better than the guys other teams cut. But generally, people aren't taking guys off the waiver wire. But I will tell you, Dave, and this is my shining commentary. Make a note. My shining commentary coming out of that game is there is a guy who is not on the Steelers roster right now who will be on the final 53 on the defensive side of the football.
Well, I wrote about that during the offseason, and I was asked that I think 2 nights ago when I did a Q&A on Twitter, and it wouldn't shock me because Kevin Colbert sure has made a habit the last several years to add after final cuts, whether it be waiver wire, whether it be trade, or what. Now the question is where is that coming from? Ed Bouchette wants you to think it'll be a tackle.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt, not no doubt. I have a high expectation that the Steelers will have a linebacker on their roster who is not currently on the roster.
And we've talked about John Simon. That might be are you talking inside, outside, or just yes?
Exactly. Just yes.
What don't you,
Bostic hasn't signed. Matakevich hasn't been good.
Now let's dispel a few notions here real quick about last night in the inside linebackers. They weren't bad. Okay, there's not. I've already been this through. I'll look a little bit closer. There wasn't anything that was really cringeworthy that I saw last night out of the inside linebackers.
Well, yeah. The worst play of the inside linebacking group, there were 2 that stood out, was Matakevich badly missing a tackle on special teams that he should have made, and Bostic, kind of running down the field. You got called for the pass interference play. He was, I don't know if he bit or whatever, but he was, he's clearly, 3 steps behind, didn't get his head around, and the ball was underthrown. I don't know who was playing quarterback for them at that time, Hundley, I think. But, look, I don't know. The Steelers coaching staff obviously has a relatively set opinion about all these guys, including L.J. Fort. And, I would bet, Dave, I'd bet your lunch money that Bostic is going to be the starter on the inside. It's just you look at the inside line, it's the same conversation. The performances haven't changed the conversation, which is the unfortunate thing. The Steelers linebackers are the position that has been a 45-year strength of this team is a question. It's the biggest question mark on the team.
You talk about that Bostic pass interference too, and sometimes though, Bostic, if you watch that, they got to play that run first. They got to play.
He does, and he does. It's a tough assignment for him. He's he's covering a wide receiver. It's a tough thing, and that's the whole thing. That's why they're going to play that dollar package a lot because it's not really the guy you want. I think he does run okay, but he runs okay for a 31-year-old guy in the NFL. That's why you play that package, so you don't have that matchup.
I thought he played that pretty good, and to be quite honest with you, and how many guys are you going to ask to run with Jimmy Graham? Well,
that's my point, is you don't really want that guy running with Jimmy Graham. But, not many guys are going to run well with Jimmy Graham, period. That's fair comment.
And then there was the one up the seam that one of those tight ends, I think, beat Fort later in the game in the third quarter or something like that. People are banging on. Look, I'm not here to try to convince anybody that the Steelers are great right now at inside linebacker. But let's just make sure we get our facts here straight because the first 20 rushes in the game by Packers running backs Thursday night resulted in just 2 successful runs. The Steelers defense only allowed 6 successful run plays all game, and 2 of those were scrambles by the quarterback. So if you want to say they didn't do a good job of containing the quarterback during the game, yeah, Mike Tomlin said as much in his post-game press conference and all. Correct. But this This is a team that, if you look from the Eagles game to this game, they did a lot better job against the run in this game. Now, if you want to talk about where the real breakdowns were on defense last night, it was mostly, you point your fingers at the secondary, folks. That and your rush not getting home. That was where your problem defensively was last night. And Mike Tomlin even talked about the leverage aspect, not getting proper leverage on guys. We saw, really, there was
just from the get-go. I mean, just the slant to Devontae Adams on the, I don't know if it was the first or the second series. He ran inside Cody Sensabaugh, I think it was. And that's an impossible coverage. You'd like Sensabaugh to be within one step rather than within three steps. But, you got a very good receiver running a slant. Aaron Rodgers is going to put the ball right on the numbers, which he did. And Morgan Burnett's slow stepping up. And he took an angle that he was going to go to the ball, and he went to the ball. And, as soon as Adams catches it, Burnett's out of the play because he's one step past him. And he's got, there's no way for Burnett to change his angle or his, to pivot there and go get him. So it's just, those kind of things. That's where and that's why the Steelers run that play. But probably not enough. You get a guy on a 5-yard slant, and if the safety isn't there or takes a bad angle, that's 25 yards, if not more. And we saw two plays, where the Steelers DBs, I don't know on the touchdown in the second half. I don't know who dove there in front of the ball and missed it by an inch.
That was Brian Allen.
Yeah, Brian Allen missed it by an inch, and Barry what's his name? Burray missed it. Took a bad angle himself and couldn't make the tackle, and away he went. Away he went for another touchdown.
You know what? I can't stop watching that play because Matthew Thomas, that dude about hawked him down.
He got Burray. He ran him down.
Yeah, he should have picked Burray up and thrown him at him. Go. You know what the thing about?
Get the hell out of my
Yeah, if he would have picked Burray up about 9-yard line and thrown him at him, they might have saved a touchdown there. As Thomas says, save some grass to defend. Go back, seriously, go back and watch that, because when when Brian Allen misses going for that ball and the wide receiver catches it, Thomas is sort of coming that way. But he's in between the hash marks at about the 21 or 22 yard line, and he's not coming full bore because he's watching,
Burray missed the tackle.
Right. Well, no, he's watching Brian Allen miss, and then Burray doing the do-si-do with the receiver there. The fact, and kind of, you got to remember that Thomas is first working towards that, and then has to work his angle back in a chase mode. Okay, Thomas looks so much, I guess, when compared to Burray. To me, he looked a lot bigger than kind of what I remembered him. I mean,
definitely the goal line. I had the exact same thing, because when he came into the frame, I was like, "Who's that huge guy?" And really, that's exactly what I thought too.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like a thoroughbred horse. I mean, seriously. I keep watching that thing, and I keep waiting for like Chariots of Fire or whatnot, or for
what's he wearing? 46. What number is he wearing?
Yeah.
Because he came into the frame, and my first reaction was, "Who the hell is that?" Because I just had the same impression, because he looked so big coming over the top of Burray, trying to track him down.
I mean, and for him, at that, now look, he's obviously, you lose a little bit of weight before the combine and all like that. But let me tell you, for him, for the build and all that he has, and for him to almost hawk that wide receiver down on that play, I really that says a lot right there. I mean, I think you really get to see his athleticism on display when it comes to him. And who knows, that hustle alone, because it's a lost cause regardless, right? I mean, if you catch him at the 2-yard line.
Yeah, he's falling in. So yeah.
And all like that. But I really think that says a lot about him. And plays like that can get you. Can get you on the roster, So now let's go back to kind of what you said there. That was a long rabbit hole to go down. But you said go out and get an inside linebacker.
I said the linebacker. There will be a linebacker.
All right. Well, is Thomas going to make this team?
I think he's got a chance now. I mean, I was skeptical, but here's why he's going to make the team if he makes the team. They decide that he can rush the passer. That's really going to be the differentiating thing because, okay, they know he can play inside, but if he has versatility and they say that, he can come off the edge as well as, Huguenin or Adams or whomever, then we're going to keep him because, we feel like maybe his upside's better. And he can play inside. So if he shows that position versatility, he puts himself and special teams capability, he puts himself ahead of those two guys, or ahead of one of those two guys, whichever one's behind the other. And I realize it's probably Huguenin behind Adams right now, but in my limited viewing, I'm not sure that's how I would have him.
Yeah, but let's face it. If we have to get him on the field as a true edge rusher, something's gone horribly wrong anyway. I mean,
Right. Point is, there's not a fourth edge rusher. So, but unless you like Ole, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's either Ola or Keon, and quite honestly, I could see maybe both of those or one of those or both of those guys are being kept.
So, do you think Thomas makes the team? What would you put him? Dead at 50% right now?
I'd put him over 50%. Look, I mean, it's a guy that we've been thinking should do something ever since he was signed as an undrafted free agent. And I'll put it this way, he hasn't hurt his cause in the first 2 preseason games. How's that? So
hasn't hurt. Yeah.
So, if he keeps it up and if he can make some plays on special teams, look, make no mistake about it. Folks, the path to the bottom end of the roster with these linebackers is special teams. I mean, plain and simple. And I think he's done some stuff on there, but so Fort has too, and Fort had another. Outside of that, I think that coverage that he got beat down the seam there in either the third or fourth quarter. I thought Fort had a decent game, as well. That sack of his was a free runner. Of him. But look, one thing that I think we learned last night in this game too, David, that it's not a new thing, but Vince Williams can get after the quarterback from the inside linebacker position. Fort can. Matthew Thomas in the first 2 games, either lined up outside or inside, can get after the quarterback as well. So that's one thing that we're seeing out of these inside linebacker groups. It's another positive, I think, is when they go, they're going, and at least they're registering hits or pressures or in Fort's case a sack. Now,
Dave, I've said for a couple of years now, if Vince Williams is your 11th best starter on defense, you have a very good defense. I would like Vince Williams to be the 11th best starter on defense. Right now, he's not. Right now, he's probably somewhere between 7 and 9, depending on who's performing at what level. And the Steelers need better than that. Vince Williams is, look, it's we talk about baseball teams, football teams. You can't have an all-star at every position. You need guys like Ramon Foster, who are not particularly expensive, who are absolutely capable of doing their job at, $2, $3, $4 million. And then you guys have other guys on their rookie deals like Juju, who, you're not paying anything versus the value you get. That's just the life of sports in a salary cap league. I mean, that's the way it works. The Steelers. I'm sure. Look, I said during the game, take a deep breath. It's August 16th. But there has not been a lot to get excited about, and there has been plenty to be concerned about watching the Steelers through 2 preseason games.
All right. One last thought on the adding the linebacker thing. Personally, if they do it, I think it would be an outside guy. And John Simon is a name we've tossed around quite a bit because John Simon is better suited to play in a odd or hybrid front. Indianapolis has switched from a 3-4 to an even 4-3 front. That's one of the main reasons why Bostic was not retained there. Because of that, we'll have to see if John Simon can stick with the Colts here. He's not a prototypical. John Simon's not a prototypical 4-3 base end. So, if there's someone on that roster that's showing you something, maybe John Simon goes out the door. He would be, in my opinion, a great add to go along with Chickalo and help you out on special teams there.
He's 27. I mean, he'll be 28 in October. He's 6'1", 250. I mean, he has the build of being a guy who could do that. I mean, look, we'll see. I mean, he's playing for somebody, and I do think so. Obviously the guy I'm talking about he's on somebody's roster right now, so it's going to be the guy. I think obviously in my view it's contingent on what guys are cut. So whoever's cutting out there and we'll assume gets through the waiver wire, because I don't imagine the Steelers are going to claim anybody. They didn't claim Joe Hayden last year. He went through waivers and they signed him to the 3-year, $27 million deal. So somebody's going to go through waivers. Now, I guess, if there is a level of desperation, which obviously Kevin felt that at this time, a couple weeks on, but last year Kevin felt a level of desperation at the tight end position, and he knew the Niners had to cut one of those 4 or 5 guys, and they all had some level of pedigree, so he was able to work out a deal for Vance McDonald. That wouldn't shock me either. If they've said, look, there is a guy we know that isn't available. We don't want to have him go through waivers. We want to make sure we target him and get him. Yeah, I could see that happening as well.
Yeah, and I think if they do, it's going to be an outside guy. Okay, the rest of the secondary. What do you think about the lowering the helmet call on Sensabaugh?
The first one, I think they missed that one. I didn't. I thought they both got. I thought if you were going to call it, you call it on Burnett. It looked to me like Burnett got in there with the helmet on the right side. Sensabaugh is looking from behind, and Sensabaugh on the left side didn't get him with the helmet at all. I thought they missed that. I thought when they threw the flag, they would call it on Burnett. I thought that would have been dicey but acceptable. I thought they missed it on Sensabaugh.
What did you think about the pass?
What did you think?
I thought it was a bad call. I mean, was it because he actually did lower his helmet, even though, to me, I think that
he didn't get him with the helmet, right? He didn't get him with the helmet. He got him with the shoulder and the
shoulder. Yeah, that's what I thought too. And the thing, I'm hearing a little bit of feedback there, but look, they're going to overemphasize this I would be irate if they called that during the regular season. I'll put it to you that way. I just think they're overemphasizing this during the preseason. At least I hope they are, because some of these calls that we're starting to see, and we probably knew this was going to happen, they just really seem to be overemphasizing it. All right, what did you think about the pass interference call on Brian Allen in the end zone? Do you need another angle or?
Yeah, I think it was a bad angle. I didn't have a problem with the call. I don't. What was my view?
If you slow that
in real time, I thought it was a fine call. He got the ball, but he had his hand on the guy. I thought it was a legit call.
I mean, he if you slow that thing down and go frame by frame, he got his hand on that football.
No doubt he got his hand on the football.
It's just how much tugging. They seemed convinced on the Packers broadcast, and I say that with I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. I think it's a ticky-tack call. I think I'd be upset if Brian Allen was. Now, I'd like to see another angle of that as well, too. Terrell Edmonds, really kind of credited for giving up 2 passing touchdowns.
Nothing to do on the Aaron Rodgers touchdown. It's just, you can't cover that guy for that long. I mean, yeah, I don't fault him on that.
It's kind of tough to and then get your head around. You got to get that head around. sometimes, but yeah,
on the fade. Yes, that was a. So yeah,
that's tough too, because those guys are, look, those guys are made, they're paid to make plays, right? I mean,
yeah, look, we talk about it. I mean, it's my least favorite play in football. You're throwing a jump ball up there, and you assume your guy knows what's coming and where, and he's a better guy at catching a football than the other guy. But that's, if you're gonna, I mean, you can't. They executed it perfectly. So again, I'm not, Edmonds had good coverage. I'm not gonna fault him on either touchdown for not making the play. The other guys make good plays. No, the first one, you can't cover the guy that long. It was just.
I mean,
it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean,
tough. Aaron Rodgers, by the way. I'm sure nobody talked about it. He's ducking two guys. He's leaning to his left. He's not really stepping into the throw, and it's a freaking dart right on the money.
Yeah, it was. That's why he's a great quarterback for sure. Special.
Our boy Bob Pompiani, who I love, gave him the Brett Favre call a couple times. He said, Favre looking over the middle.
Did he really?
Yeah, I got a good chuckle out of that.
Okay.
Love Bob. So.
Special teams.
Yeah, I got to say, I didn't watch this closely. Quadri obviously didn't get his opportunity. We didn't, we got a 27-yard kick return, I guess. The Steelers had no punt returns, which is, it's unfortunate for, guys trying to get opportunities. Cam Sutton, I didn't take anything away that the guy, really kind of enhanced his opportunity in special teams. So really, the only thing that stuck out was Matakevich missing that one tackle.
They had a few missed tackles on special teams. Cameron Sutton, I got another wish. It's too bad he didn't get more opportunities, but he was scheduled to be the first half punt returner, and the one punt return that he got didn't come until 4-6 minutes left in the first half. And what did that one do? Go out of bounds, or do you remember?
He didn't get to return it. I don't even remember him catching it. So,
what happened on that one? That one went out of bounds with 6:51 left. That was that 29-yard punt that Scott had there. That went out of bounds. So no opportunity there. Quadre, but they better stop fair catching.
Yeah, I was watching that again this morning, and he was he was at the 11 or 12-yard line. It's I don't want a guy to do something dumb to have an opportunity to make the team, but sometimes you should do something dumb to have an opportunity to make the team. So I get your point.
Jordan Berry, Mike Tomlin talked about inconsistent punting. And boy, was it inconsistent. I mean, he had a couple of boomers, and then he had 3 that were 30 yards or less, I think.
I've had, over Barry's 3 years, I have, he had his first season, this will be his 4th season, I think, if I have it right. I think his first season, he was erratic, but okay. I think his second season, he wasn't very good. If I'm getting my years right, even, I'm getting old. I thought last year he was very good. Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about Jordan Berry. He has the leg, and we know that the Steelers are very focused on directional punting. He doesn't get a chance to air it out all that often, and he did once. But yeah, 30-yard punts are not. I mean, one took a little bit of a bounce, but it wasn't a good punt to begin with. So yeah, he's not. You expect a guy at his age not to be mishitting punts. Regularly. I mean, preseason shouldn't be for him. Preseason shouldn't be any different than regular season. This is, you're executing the same way you execute in a game. So do better.
He had 3 that traveled 56 or more yards and 3 that were 30 yards or less. So no wonder. I mean, we don't have a punting competition, right? On our hands yet.
Absolutely not. No, and it won't be. There's zero. I mean, there's zero chance we don't know the specialists. That was clear on February 1st, and it's equally clear today. 3 guys who are, barring injury, they're just, you can put them in blood.
I mean, Matt Wild punted, I think, twice in the opener. He did not punt last night because they wanted to give him a chance to show what he can do as a kicker, which was a bit of surprise. They sat.
Sorry about that.
They sat Chris Boswell down last night, and gave Matt Weil a chance to kick off and all like that. And I thought he did okay. I mean, he's obviously not going to be your kicker, but the more that you show that you can do will help you out around the league there. I'm trying to think what else do we have. Really, I think defensively, Stephon Tuitt missed a sack in that game. What did you think about Bud Dupree's night? I mean, his sack, they called him, the Packers broadcast called him a Pro Bowler.
Bud beat his guy clean. That's what you ask a guy to do. Whether it's Joe Thomas or whether it's you or me, your job is to line up and beat that guy clean and get to the quarterback. He did it on that play. So I'm not going to knock him for who he went against. That was a good play. Man, if Bud Dupree makes the Pro Bowl, that's going to mean the Steelers defense was probably good because bad teams don't get players on the Pro Bowl. That would probably be the best news you could tell me today about the Steelers. That would be, somewhat surprising and be a very good omen. Bud Dupree makes the Pro Bowl in 2018.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you had to pick a player off the whole team to make the team that would be, surprising and really good omen, you'd obviously pick somebody off the defense, but, you wouldn't really pick Cam or Tuitt. You'd be like TJ Watt or even better, Bud Dupree or Artie Burns. I mean, that'd be good news.
Yeah, I had to pick my jaw up off the floor.
I picked that too.
But look, I mean, you're supposed to beat backup tackles, right? And even though
it's still hard to do. I mean, it's not just routine to get a sack every time a starter goes against.
No. But I mean, run around the edge when given the opportunity of the edge being there. You would expect. Someone asked me to grade that sack on a scale of 1 to 5. I gave it like a 2.675 or something like that as far as quality sacks go. But look, I mean, small sample size. We'll go through and see. I need to go back through and concentrate and focus on how he did against David back at.
But by the way, I would give him just we're looking at it differently, so I understand. But I mean, I give him a 5 because on that play. He says, I'm going to beat the guy around the outside edge and I'm going to get to the quarterback in 2 seconds. And that's what he did. Now, again, the level of competition wasn't Joe Thomas. So maybe you take, but he did the play perfectly. I mean, he executed it perfectly.
All right. Fair enough. The Cody Sensabaugh, definitely not as good a night. Artie Burns, right from the get-go, was up in press and got knocked off of his feet for an easy by the wide receiver, out physicaled him for a quick pitch and catch early in that game. Sutton, not his best game, I didn't think. Obviously, Edmonds, not a superior showing.
Who was good? Tell me rather than that. Tell me who was good.
Yeah, yikes. I don't know. Maybe
Did Hayden not play at all?
Hayden did not dress. Marcus Allen did not play. I think
Marcus Allen's gone. He's maybe practice squad.
Yeah. Malik Golden, I thought, did a couple of nice things late in the game. But when you get that deep.
Yeah, I pay a lot less attention in the fourth quarter. To be honest.
So, all right. Overarching thoughts on this game.
The depth charts are set offensively. James Washington, I think, solidified the fact that he's going to be up front. The fact that they did come out and start DHB and Justin Hunter tells you that there is still a competition there for those guys to make the team. So the back end of the wide receiver position is still the open question. The defense still has a lot of work to do. They got to figure it out. I mean, I think the backup quarterback play was Mason Rudolph's going to be on the team. There's nothing to worry about from his performance. He didn't play well. Dobbs helped himself in the big picture of playing in the league, but the defense, there are still big concerns.
Yeah, and remember, you did not have Big Dan. We got to give a shout out to Big Dan.
Let's give Dan a little love. And this has been This has been trending through practice. And look, I've always been hopeful for Dan. And there's, 15 snaps last year tells you all you need to know. And I don't know if it was a John Mitchell thing and with the new defensive line coach that, there's a little bit of a different emphasis or somebody's been able to get with him. But good for him. He's a big physical guy. Hopefully he's not getting a ton of snaps this year either because things are going well. But I'd like to see Dan make the team. Sure.
He can drive those centers back, can he, or guards or whoever. He
talked about him being as good he's good in passing situations as he is in running situations, maybe better. Now the thing is, what we've seen him do is drive the center well past the quarterback a couple times and not disengage and make the play. But yeah, he does do that for sure.
And I think if you go back and watch it last night, he had the same kind of thing, especially early in the game. I mean, he can get someone going the wrong direction, but he just can't get off of them, and maybe that's because he's got so much surface area that people are. No, I'm serious. That these
people can stay on him and hold him a little bit.
Right. I mean, like riding a truck or something. Grabbing a hold of a runaway truck or something. Just so much things to grab onto there. If he could get where he gets that penetration and get off right away, man, he might have a couple of sacks. By now, of course, most of it being in the preseason there. I think we saw him do a couple other nice things against the run last night. So I think overall in two preseason games this year, he's surprised me. I mean, I tried to write him off right from the time that he was re-signed. And do you read anything into? I think he started last night, David. Do you read anything into him starting over? Is Javon Hargrave in some sort of doghouse that we don't know about? Or
I saw Alex wrote something that kind of asking that question. I would just be guessing, so I won't guess. I guess I would say no. I mean, I don't. Maybe he was a little dinged up, or maybe they know what Hargrave is. It was a little bit surprising, but I don't imagine there's a lot to it.
Overall, when you look at this defense, for those listeners out there, please keep in mind, you did not have Cameron Hayward on the field last night. You did not have T.J. Watt on the field. You had Bud Dupree in really his first action of the preseason. You did not have Joe Hayden out there. You did not have.
You would say three. You just named three of your five best defensive players. So I mean, that's the August 16th. Take a deep breath answer.
Sean Davis was not on that field. Did not play. So try to keep some sense. I understand everybody wants to fire Tomlin on the way back home and all, but let's or at least let him get home and then fire him. But let's
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. Let's kind of go back and watch. If you have Game Pass or I think it's going to be on NFL Network maybe again today. Go back and watch it and just kind of focus on some of the things that we covered in this show. Look at the inside linebacker play, and I think most of you will agree if you go back and watch the game again. It's not as it's definitely not as worrisome as it was coming out of that Eagles game. I think overall the pass rush wasn't bad, right? I mean, as a whole. There was some nice pressures.
They got some pressure on Rodgers. They got some pressure on Hundley and Kaiser. I thought the pass rush was okay.
I think they didn't finish. They allowed the contain wasn't good on quarterbacks, and I think the secondary played definitely under below the bar. So. Obviously, with the quarterbacks, step backwards with Rudolph, a step forward for Joshua Dobbs. Chooks, I thought Chooks did some nice things in there at left tackle in the game. Jake Rodgers looked like Aaron Rodgers. Jake Rodgers did not have a good night, I did not think, at right tackle. Finney, got to see Finney play some right guard in this game. Trying to think what else stuck out to me the first couple times through. Yeah, I think that's about it. But I mean, you give the opposition 14 points, right? I mean, you're not going to win many games. You turn the ball over like that. So, all right. Anything else you'd like to add? Talk about the emails, David.
Yeah, I'm going to do this on Monday because there are enough that I actually want to go through and have them all ready, and I don't have them all listed in front of me. But I just want to read one that that we got this morning at 5 a.m. I received it at 5 a.m. and I'm not exactly sure where this listener is from, but Shelly Ann, it was great. And this was, we got 50 to 75 of these. And so this is just one. And I promise you, I will read a bunch more of these on Monday because the game's obviously Thursday. We got Friday. So we'll have some time to fill air on Monday. She said, you were asking about demographics of your listeners. I am a married female in my 40s, obviously a Steeler fan, but the real reason I listen is because my husband is a sports broadcaster for local radio. And because of your podcast, I have more information than he does on the Steelers. Thank you for your awesome podcast, Shelly. So thank you, Shelly, for listening. And that made me smile this morning.
Is that a local radio station in Pittsburgh?
She didn't say. She did, which it reminds me of a little bit of a funny story about my mom. When I was on the radio, my mom would just, bless her heart, she would listen to me. She's heard me talk enough in her life that she probably didn't want to hear more extra on the radio. But we would be out and we'd be having dinner with, maybe my brother and his kids or whatever. And she would tell me something. She said, I heard on the radio so-and-so, so-and-so. And I would say, Mom, you heard it on the radio because I said it. That's what, and that must have happened 50 times, but it would be just like, yeah, you heard it because I said it. Now you're telling me. They said, I love that you're impressing me with your sports knowledge, but Shelly Ann impressing her husband, that made me laugh.
Let me read one before we get out of here,
Sure.
and it's just a couple down. It came out yesterday as well. So it just sometimes, David, I think you and I, and we've said this several times, we talk. That's what we do, and we get immersed in that sometimes, and then we throw it up on the internet. We don't focus in on there's people that actually listen to this thing. This is from Claudette Woodruff. I've been listening to your podcast for the past 4 years and enjoy it immensely. I am 62 years old, a native of Jamaica, where the principal sports were cricket and soccer. I was introduced to American football by my husband, who is an American in the mid-'70s, and I've been a fan since. I look forward to each episode of the podcast, even when Alex substitutes for David Todd. Thanks for being informative, but also entertaining about the game in general and the Steelers specifically. How great is that? I mean, yeah. Jamaica, a native of Jamaica. She's 62. There you go. I mean, it just goes to show you sometimes that, and I knew we had a lot of female listeners. It was time to get them to check in, and boy, a lot of them did. And David, as you said, you promised to read more of them on Monday. Look, we're not.
I'll give you one more. Gene wrote in and said, "Dear terrible podcasters," no pun intended. I'm an over 50 brand new listener coming in as an Oklahoma State fan of Mason Rudolph and James Washington. Your team is my team now, and I love listening to your podcast. I use mostly Instagram, not Twitter. And trivia note, we called James Washington the president, and every time he scored, we saluted. So maybe we got a new tradition for Steeler fans. Salute every time James Washington scores a touchdown. Love it. Thank you, Gene. And we'll get to more of these on Monday, but they were very fun to receive. And listen, for those, fire away if you've got more. So from our other female listeners in particular.
Hey, and Gene, let me tell you this. I watched so much Oklahoma State tape this past offseason.
You were sleeping to your computer?
That I think I've become a fan. I think I'm a fan of Oklahoma. Of Oklahoma.
I'm a man. I'm a man.
I'm a man. I've become a fan of theirs because, and look, they got that young running back over there that I think really fits what the Steelers do as well too. So, Gene, look, I've got a lot of content back over on the off season on SteelersDepot.com of contextualizing the throws of Mason Rudolph and James Washington. So search that out if you haven't already seen that. So that's absolutely great there. Okay.
Lead in the notes with the recap that we some emails from female listeners.
All right, good deal. In the meantime, David and I will be back at this thing on Monday, and we will have, or at least I will have watched the game about 10 more times since then, and we can kind of focus in a little bit more on some individual performances. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow David Todd on Twitter at David M. Todd. You can follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit that donate button in the upright navigational bar. David, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you on Monday.
Yeah, everybody enjoy the weekend. Not many summer weekends left, but that means football's getting closer. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave.